Anybody see it? Ariella sees it. Right there. See that little cloud? That means we're recording. If I don't have it, that means we're not recording. Okay. So now that we're recording, we're continuing our next exciting adventure. Let's just cover up some things here. We don't have to see a million things. 1 second. Now we got everything here. Okay, we left you off yesterday with the little baby who was given a name by the princess of Egypt. Who remembers the name of the princess of Egypt? Who wants to get a chance? Okay, Adina, you tell us, unmute and just tell us what her name was.
Her name was Batya.
Well, close. Everybody calls her Batya, but the real name is Bisya or Bitya. But that's close enough. Okay. And also you can mute yourself back. Good. And now what name did she give that little baby boy? What was the name she gave the little boy? And what was the Ellie? Tell us what you know. Moshe. Okay, good. Now you could mute yourself back. Why did she give him that name Moshe? Moshe means something. What does Moshe mean? Okay, Ariella.
From out of the water, I told you.
Oh, I try it again because there's a lot of screaming in the background. Try again.
Min hamayim mishitihu.
Okay, wow, great. Min hamayim mishisihu. I pulled him out of the water. So it's like his name was Pulley. Okay, that's where we're up to yesterday. Okay, now we continue the story. Moshe's 2 years old. Now he grows up in the palace. And it's really, even though that's not a great place for a Jewish boy to grow up in a palace of the non-Jewish Paro, who's a mean and rotten man. But you know what? Sometimes when Hashem puts you in a place you don't want to be in, sometimes it's good for you. You're wondering, how could that be good to be in a Russia's house, right? How could it be good to be in Paro, the Russia? But you know what? Paro was a king. And in a king, that's something called, a fancy English word called royalty. And when you're raised with kings and royalty, you're treated a little bit like a little prince. And then you begin to learn how kings act and to know that you have a bigger responsibility than other people. So Moshe learned a little bit about that. Anyway, Moshe's growing up and he knows he's a Jewish boy. And then he grows up. Now, here's a very interesting word I want to share with all of you. Okay, who can do? You see there's a word over there. Who can raise their hand and tell me if they know how to read that word? That's a really important word. Okay, Yoni, unmute and tell me what the word is.
Gadol means big.
Very good. Excellent. You can mute yourself back. Gadol means big. And the Torah tells us, see over here the words, Moshe grew up and went out to his brothers, but it doesn't tell us the word I told you, that he was big. Now, here's an interesting thing. What does it mean that you're big? The Torah says Moshe grew up, vayigdal. He grew up, he was big. Why does the Torah have to tell us he's big? What does it mean you're big? You're grown up. Okay, he was 20 years old. So why does Torah tell me that he was big as opposed to somebody who's small? You know, I'm looking at all of you beautiful children over here. What Torah word would we use to describe all of you that are under bar mitzvah and under bat mitzvah? You're not called a gadol. You're called another word. Who knows what that other word is? Matana? Unmute.
I don't know the answer, but I was just asking how Paro lived for so long, because like when Moshe was like already older, he was still alive, and he was born way before Moshe was born.
Well, it was only another 20 years. So how old he was, he lived another 20 years. That's not a major problem. However
I know
old
the
Paro was,
answer
he could
to
live
the
another 20 years. Okay, but I want someone to answer my question. What do you call a person who's under bar or bat mitzvah? What do you call them? Yes, Ariella.
Isn't it like Tanim?
Yes, the word we're looking for, ketanim, is for many, or katan. Katan means small. So gadol is big and katan is small. Let's see if we could find a katan over here. Let's see, who knows how to spell katan? Is that the first letter? Okay, what are we going to put under that? How about, okay, what's going to be the next letter? I want to put another letter in there. Yes, Akiva, tell us what the next letter should be.
Tess.
Tess. Now I got to find the Tess on my magic keyboard. Boom. And still got to put something under the Tess, right? We put this. Okay, now I need the last letter. Who can give me the last letter? Okay, Rivka, tell me the last letter. Unmute. The last letter is?
None.
Not nun, but you meant close, close.
And the none.
Oh, what happened to what's going on? What happened here? Something broke. My nun Sophie's broke. How did that happen? Let's try it again. I got to do this. There it is. There it is. And the nun or nun Sophie's. So we got gadol and katan. So, Ariel, do you have a question?
I have an answer.
I didn't ask any question yet. What did I ask? Unmute yourself and tell me what I asked. Okay, you don't remember? Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back to you. Now, what's the difference between gadol and katan? You know, let's try to remember the very first time the Torah said the word gadol and katan. You know when that was? You have to be a real genius to know that. The very first time the Torah said gadol and katan, the very first time. You got to be a real genius. Okay, Avi thinks he's the genius. Okay, give it a try, Avi. When's the very first time?
One means big and one means small.
That is absolutely correct. But can you also tell me who knows the very first time in the Torah it used the word
when Hashem made the world.
When Hashem made the world, but what did he make that was big and that was small? That the Torah says especially was big and especially was small. Let me see. I got so many people. I got to go all around here. Who's got their hand up? I'm looking, and I see Adina. What do you think?
I think that like the birds are small, like the sea creatures and the bird, well, like the fish and the birds were small, and the land animals like lions and tigers were big.
That could very well be, but the Torah doesn't say it though. I want to know what the Torah says. Okay, Akiva, where does the Torah use the word big and small the first time?
It says that Yaakov and Esau grew up.
Well, Yaakov and Esav grew up, and yes, it says the older brother and the younger brother. That's a very good answer, but it's not the first time. It's a good answer, but not the first time. I'll give you a hint. The first time is in the first perek in the book of Bereshis. The first chapter, it says the words katon and gadol. Who knows when it said katon, about what? What was called katon and what was called gadol? That's a really good question. You know, at the Shabbos table, you could ask your parents, Abba, Ima, do you know the first time the Torah talked about something as katon and gadol? What was that? All right, Ariella's going to give it a try.
What is Gadol like when Hashem created the world?
Well, but something specifically was called gadol, and something specifically was called katon.
The darkness and the light.
The darkest light. I'm sorry, that wasn't it. Okay, you're thinking about it. You're all trying hard. I'm very proud of you. I'm going to give you the answer, and you could ask this.
Moon.
1 second. Did somebody help you there? Matana.
I have the answer.
Who is this? Another school.
Yeah.
Somebody, your father told you the answer, I bet.
No, I know the answer.
Yes, that's it. Your father told you the answer. Okay, your father's smart. Okay, the answer is, let's mute everybody. So there's one family that's not muted. Okay, we're going to mute them. Okay, the answer is the Torah calls the sun is the big light, the Ma'or HaGadol. And the moon is the Ma'or HaKatan, is the small light. Now here, and when I'm going to tell you something that you got to be really smart to know this. So make sure you're putting your thinking cap on. Everybody has to have a thinking cap. So for some boys, it's easy. They just make sure their yarmulke is on their head. That's your thinking cap. For girls, well, I see Adina has something on her head, but you don't have to have anything in your head. Just make sure that your thinking cap, the thinking cap is invisible, but it means you're thinking. This is how you look when you're thinking. I'm thinking. Now, so I'm going to tell you something very interesting. What makes something big and what makes something small? I know what you're going to think. Big is big. Look, big. And small is, ooh, small. Not true. Let me explain. Big means that you want to give to others. Small means you take from others. The sun, what does the sun do? It shines, it gives light to the entire world. Baruch Hashem, we have a sun. Right now, I'm looking out my window. I see the sun is making light. Here, want to see the sun? Hang on. See, look out through the window. It's sun. Baruch Hashem, the sun gives light. The sun gives warmth. The sun is giving all the time. It never stops giving. You can put your hands down for a minute because I'm just going to talk for a little while. Then I'll give you a chance. The moon, what does the moon do? The moon takes the light. It's when you see light, the moon, it's not from itself. It gets the moon from the sun. It gets the moon from the sun. So the sun is the big light because it gives, while the moon is the small light because it takes. Now, if you understand that, now we understand what does it mean if a person's called a gadol and a person's called a katan? Well, a person called a katan, usually a very young child like yourselves right now, you're more than giving. Because your parents give you lunch, your parents give you supper, your parents buy your clothes, your parents take care of you. And right now you're taking a lot, but that's okay. Because right now you are all a katan. But one day you're going to grow up and get older. And when you're older, especially when you're an abba and an ima, but you don't have to wait that long. Freely, if you're a boy and you're bar mitzvah, and you're a girl in bat mitzvah, you can become a gadol. Gadol does just mean you're big, but it means you now can give to other people. So if anybody asks you, what's a gadol? It's, you know what a big person is? A person who can give to others, share their recess, share their toys. That's a big person. A small person always wants to take. So the question is, when you guys grow up, do you want to be big or small? Well, let's take a look at Moshe Rabbeinu. Let's take a look at Moshe Rabbeinu for a minute. Where are you, Moshe? Let's just put this down over here. Let's get Moshe back in the story. Now, Torah says Moshe grew up. He became big. Let's see what he did. Two amazing stories. Ariella, your hand is up. What? You're so patient. What would you like to?
In the Chumash, it says like Gadol Vaydal twice, and it means like that Moshe grew up like physically and like that he took responsibility for other people.
Well, that's what it means. That's what it means to be a gadol, to give. When I give, I'm being responsible for other people. Correct. Very good. So let's see what Moshe does. Remember, Moshe is a prince. He's an Egyptian prince. He does not have to work. He didn't have to work like the Jewish people were working so hard and they were crying and all those things. But you know what? He went out to take a look and see what's happening. You know what he saw was happening? I don't have the picture. He saw there was an Egyptian man, a big one, maybe looking like this guy, and what was he doing? He was beating up on a Jewish slave. Wham, 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 and take this, boom, and take that, boom, wham, and the Jews cry, hey, you're hurting me, let me alone. No, wham, wham. Moshe saying, what is this? What is this? This Egyptian man is beating up a Jew. Moshe goes to the man in charge. Man in charge, what's going on over here? Why is this Egyptian beating up the Jewish slave? So you know what the man in charge says? Oh, your Royal Highness Prince Moshe, he's just beating up a Jewish slave. A Jewish slave isn't important. What does it matter to you? They're like dirt. Let him beat him up. Moshe says, what? What are you saying? He's a human being. You don't punch human beings like this, even if he is a slave. Your master, my master, don't worry, he's just a Jew. Moshe's looking and he sees the Egyptian. He's beating up the guy. He looks around and there's lots of Jews standing around. And nobody's doing anything. I guess they got used to Jews getting beaten up all the time. It was like no big deal. And Moshe sees this. He says, this is terrible. Do you know what Moshe does? Moshe looks this way. He looks that way. He looks every which way. And he sees there's nobody there to help. Moshe did not have a sword in his hand, but Moshe was a very holy man. And there's certain secret words of Hashem that I don't even know. But when you say those secret words, you could kill somebody. So what does he do? He says, I normally wouldn't do this, but this Egyptian man, he's not stopping. Moshe goes over to the Egyptian man, stop beating up this slave. He says, why can't I beat up this slave? He's just a Jew, I can beat him up. Moshe says, stop. So I'm not going to stop. Go make me. And Moshe, remember, he has no sword. He has no gun, but he has a mouth. He says, you know, Hashem, I know your holy secret words. I'm going to say the holy secret word. Now, I can't say it. You know why? Because if I'd say it, chas v'shalom, maybe somebody would die. So we'll just say, he said the holy word. Whatever that was. I'll do it one more time. He said the holy name of Hashem. And look what happened. The Egyptian dropped dead like that. Look at that. Flat on the ground. And Moshe says, oi, man on the ground. They're going to find out. No, you know what Hashem did a miracle. He took some ground, the sand, and covered up the Egyptian man. You know, the picture doesn't show the end, but the sand came all the way to cover up this Egyptian man. That's being a gadol. That is worrying about your other Jews. And Moshe he didn't want to kill the man, but he didn't want to stop. So Moshe went and killed the Egyptian. That was on the first day he went out. That shows he's a gadol. He cares. Now, that does not mean, boys and girls, you should say Hashem's name and kill other people. Don't try it at home. Please don't try it at home. You try to help. If somebody's in trouble, you try to help. Always try to help. Remember, if you want to be treated like a big person, the rule is give to others. If you give to others, you'll be treated like a big person. Yes, Adina, you're raising your hand so nicely. What would you like to say?
Like, it's only like to like save other people. Like, that's the only way to do it. And like person, like, let's say like Jews.
Okay. I hear what you're
Let's
saying.
say Jews getting beaten up by this random who's like a robber, let's say. Then you can say.
Okay. All right. Excellent. So anyway, that happened on day one. Now, what's going to happen on day two is going to really surprise you. Now, you see this dead Egyptian man? He was beating up on this guy the day before. And I'm going to tell you this man's name. He was a really rotten stinker, this guy. I usually don't call people rotten stinkers, but when they're really terrible, I call them a rotten stinker. We're going to play a game. I'm going to put the first letter up, and you tell me if you can figure out his name. I'll tell you right now, his name has 3 letters. I'm going to put the first letter up. The first letter is a daled, and I'll even give you the dot. The nikud is that. Now, do you know anybody's name?
Dasan.
Remember, he's got to be a really bad guy.
Dasan.
You don't want to pick David HaMelech.
Dasan.
Okay, you think it's Dasan. Let's see if that works. It works. You got it. Dasan. Ooh, he was the guy that the Egyptian was beating up yesterday. Okay? And now, and Moshe saved his life. Remember this. Remember, if I would save your life, do you think you'd be a little nice to me? If I saved your life, someone's going to kill you and I saved your life, would you maybe be thankful to me? Well, anyway, you see these guys over here? Well, this guy is Dasan. And Dasan has a brother. Do you know what his brother's name is? Anybody can try? What was Dasan's brother? Oh, the Michalowiczes. Okay. Rivka thinks she knows. What is it? Unmute. Aviram. Exactly. So Dasan and Aviram are fighting. Now remember, Moshe saved this guy's life yesterday. So he goes over. Now look what is he doing? Why is his hand like this? It looks like he wants to hit his brother. He didn't hit him yet. So what does Moshe say? He calls them a name, and let's see if you can figure out the name. I'm going to put it up I'm going to give you, again, a clue. That's the first letter. What is Moshe going to call this guy? What's he going to call him? Let me put the, okay. What's Moshe going to call him? Oh, we got somebody from Israel, I think. Is that true?
Me.
Mr. Mishan. All the way from Israel. Whoa. Okay, what's the word?
Russia.
Let's see if it works. Let's see.
Sorry, I'm Sephardi. I have a different.
Rasha. Well, let's see if it works. Okay, we'll do this and this. And what's the last letter I need here? Bingo. Russia. So Moshe says, Russia. Why did he call him a Russia? You know what the Talmud says? Not only if you take your fist and you punch somebody in the nose, you're Russia, but even if you just do this, I'm going to hit you. I'm going to hit you. You're already a Russia. You know why? Because if you want to hurt somebody, you're already a Russia. So Moshe calls him a Russia. He says, Russia, why are you hitting your brother? So you know what the Russia says? The Russia says, who made you the boss? You think you're such a big guy? Just because you are the prince, you can go around telling us what to do? Moshe saying, I don't understand you. Why would you want to hit your brother? Just butt out. That's not a nice way to talk. I don't care. I'm not a nice guy. But I saved your life yesterday. I don't care. And you know what? Listen to this. Only a Russia would do this. I know none of you would do this. He says, you know what? I'm going to tell Paro that you killed the Egyptian. That's going to get you in big trouble. Moshe heard that, and now he said something. He said some famous words. You know, every day something was bothering Moshe. You know what was bothering Moshe? Moshe said, I don't understand. Why is Paro hurting the Jewish people? Why is Paro making them slaves? Why is Paro hurting the Jewish people? The Jewish people aren't such a bad people. You know what Moshe said right now? When that rotten Dawson said, I'm going to tell Paro what you did. Moshe said, now I know why the Jewish people are suffering. Because they speak Lashon Hara. Do you know what Lashon Hara is? Saying something bad about somebody. Saying that Moshe killed the Egyptian to Paro. That's Lashon Hara. You know what Lashon Hara is? You say anything bad about somebody that would hurt their feelings. Even if it's true, you can't say that. And Moshe says, now I understand why Hashem is bringing you so much suffering. You know why? Because there's Jews who talk Lashon Hara. They talk not nice things. And let me tell you something. You know, Jewish people, sometimes we make mistakes, and Hashem is very kind. He waits. He gives us time to do teshuvah. You know, we all make mistakes. So Hashem says, okay, I'm going to, I'll give you a chance to do teshuvah. But there's one avera that Hashem cannot stand. When we talk Lashon Hara. When we talk Lashon Hara, all of a sudden, the bad people in the world can hurt us. So now, what do we learn today, Yiladim Yiladot? What does it mean to be a big person? You want to be a big person? Raise your hand if you want to be a big person. I got one. Only one person. 2 people. 3 people. Some people. Not all people, but most people. Most people here want to be a big person. Yes, most people want to be a big. Ellie wants to be a big person. Good for him. Matanal wants to be a big person. Nobody wants to be a big person. I see all the people. Oh, everybody wants to be a big person. But you know what? You're not going to be a big person just by getting older. You're going to be a big person if you do things like Moshe Rabbeinu, where you try to help other people. But you know what a small person is? A small person talks Lashon Hara. And you know what? We are waiting for Mashiach. And if we want to have Mashiach, you know what we got to be? All of you boys and girls, you have to be a gadol. You got to be a person who wants to give to others. So in this week, I want you to practice. I want everybody this week to practice being a gadol. And if you're playing with your brothers and sisters and you want a toy and they want a toy, I want you to think, ask yourself, do I want to be a gadol or do I want to be a katan? Do I want to be a big person or a small person? I want to be big, so I'm going to give. And for sure, you don't want to talk Lashon Hara, because Lashon Hara is what brings all the terrible things in the world. Okay, so now Moshe is in big trouble. Do you know what happened? The next day, the guards come to Moshe's room and said, we heard that you killed an Egyptian. Uh-oh. Now you're going to get punished. What? Yes, you're going to get punished. But he was beating up on a Jew. Don't you understand? Jews aren't worth anything in this country. That's not fair. And they start slapping Moshe. What are you doing to me? What are you doing to me? We're going to chop your head off. We're going to chop your head off. What? They can't do this. And then they take Moshe Rabbeinu, and there's this big, what do you call it? It's a fancy word. It's called a guillotine. It's this big thing. You put your head right on the wood, and they take this big axe and whack. They chop your head off. And they tie up Moshe up. They hold Moshe down. They put his head down on the thing. I don't know if you can see. I'm going kind of low. Well, put his head down like this. They take the big strong man takes the axe. He goes up. He goes down and oh! Hashem did a miracle. You know what Hashem did? He turned Moshe's neck into marble. That's very hard. And you know what happened? The knife broke, kicked back, and killed the man who wanted to kill him. And right away, Moshe ran out from the palace. He ran away. He had to leave. He was now a fugitive. That means he's not welcome. And he had to run away to save his own life. And tomorrow we see that he goes to a place called Midian. Anyway, boys and girls, look what the time. It's already after 12:30. I have to go have my lunch. Tomorrow, boys and girls, is the last class. 12 o'clock for you in Israel. Sorry, it's already Shabbos for you. Nothing I could do. But 12 o'clock, and then we're going to send out some questions. And if you know the answers to the questions, I already brought the special Shabbos treats. And your father or mother can you can get the treats. Okay. Okay, everybody, let's say have a good day. Have a Saharayim Tov. Have an amazing day.
What?
And we'll see you all later.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the share, stop the record.